What's up, everybody? So today, I'm going to be taking a look at a part of Nintendo's history. It is one of the most well-known consoles of all time, and last year was its 30th birthday. And it is probably one of the most recognizable consoles of all time. If you ask anybody what their favorite console is, even if they've never played video games, even if they have never touched a video game, if they were forced to say a video game console that came to their mind, they would probably think of this: the Game Boy. So the Game Boy came in many different variations. There was the standard Game Boy, which everyone calls the brick. Fun fact, one of these was actually taken to the Gulf War and survived a landmine explosion, and it can still be played even after that. So this is probably the most durable piece of technology ever made. Another version of the Game Boy was the Game Boy Mini. The same thing as the brick Game Boy, except smaller, obviously. I mean, look at the comparison of these two. It's like the size of an iPhone 8. It's pretty cool. And then later on, it came in the Game Boy Color, which is just a Game Boy, but instead of displaying black and white graphics, it would display the games in full color. There was also the Game Boy SP, which is very similar to the DS of, I guess, a while ago, since they don't make DSs and 3DSs anymore. But the clamshell design, there wasn't a bottom screen like the DS, but it was very similar. That was the Game Boy Advance SP. The Game Boy Advance was like it kind of had like the middle of a steering wheel shape. You know what I mean? The screen was in the middle, and it had two like bumper things where it had the directional keys and the A and B button. I don't have those, unfortunately, so you probably know what they look like anyway. So first off, what's so good about the Game Boy? Well, for its time, it was revolutionary. Nobody had seen pocket technology, or the technology that you could take anywhere on the go, like this. It was small, it could fit anywhere, and it was also very easy to use, you know? Just the A and B button and the directional keys and the start and select buttons like the NES had, all on this one small device. It was somewhat light, and it was easy to use. You know, there's the... Oh wait, this doesn't have batteries. So I'll use this one that does have batteries. And there's that iconic opening jingle. The ba-ding! Now, yes, they use batteries. The standard Game Boy uses 4. I think the mini Game Boy also uses 4. It may use 2. Yeah, it uses 2. And the Game Boy Color also uses 2, if you could see that in there. Yeah. Let's talk about the games, because you can't have a console or handheld that doesn't have games. One of the main games that came with the Game Boy was Tetris. I think it was a packing game, so almost everyone who had a Game Boy had Tetris. Here's my copy of Tetris. And then, because of it being in so many Game Boys, it has become the highest selling game of all time. And I don't think it means like only Tetris on the Game Boy. I think it means the highest selling game of all time, because there's multiple different versions of Tetris. It's like saying every version of Street Fighter 2, even though they released multiple versions of that is the same game when they really made it with multiple gimmicks in each game. But one of the most popular games for the Game Boy was this game, Pokemon. Pokemon Red and Blue were the highest, or one of the biggest games of its time. They were revolutionary in bringing RPGs to the West, and they've completely changed the gaming landscape. Maybe for the worst lately, but that's an entirely different story. This isn't Nintendo's first handheld, however. The first handheld was the Game & Watch, starring Mr. Game & Watch from Smash. That was actually his first appearance. He was a character before Mario and Donkey Kong were ever characters. Now, let's play the game. Okay, so here we are playing Pokemon Blue, and, you know, it looks somewhat good for its time. Now, let's turn off the light, because, you know, want to save power, and... Wait a second, where'd the game go? You can barely see it. Yeah, so... This is one of the things with the Game Boy. It had no backlight, so you could basically only play when it was light. There were add-ons that you could attach to the Game Boy where there were lights on it and you could see during the night. But if you didn't have that, you could basically only play it during the day or having the lights on in your room. So it was very, very difficult to play anywhere like you can play now. Would I recommend getting a Game Boy now? Well, not really. It is a fun piece of history to have with you, but most of the games on it run terribly. There's a lot of glitches, and they're very slow, which I can understand they had to use with what technology they had at their time. But it's like playing an NES game now. It's very hard to control sometimes, and it isn't as smooth. I'd really recommend, if you want a Game Boy, or just Game Boy games, to try to find them on, like, the 3DS eShop, or try to find, like, Link's Awakening for the Game Boy got remade recently, so if you want to get one of those, I'd recommend getting that, because along with the base Game Boy game, there's also additional content to that, so it's a bit more jam-packed. But, you know, it's just a fun piece of history to have. That's it for today. I hope you all have a wonderful day, week, whatever. And I'll see you all next week. Bye.